Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of our wrestling podcast. So without further ado, the following podcast is scheduled for one fall, and today's topic, Overrated Wrestlers Part 1. Don't be shy. Don't be shy to get loud there, bud.
Welcome to the O.W.P. This is our wrestling podcast. This is Dave along with Jess.
Yes, it is.
And Cuz.
And finally,
Bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing our opinions with you. And on to our topic today, overrated and underachieved wrestlers. As always, you can reach us via Instagram at OWP2019, YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel, SoundCloud at Our Wrestling Podcast, or you can download WrestlePost. It's a free app, no charge to you, and join us along with several great wrestling podcasts of today. Guys, I got to tell you, I was really excited about this topic as always. I think it's going to get a little heated today. I know we have some disagreements on who's underrated, who is overrated. I'm sorry, overrated, underrated, underachieved, overachieved, right? It's going to get nasty in here. What do you think?
I think if we stick, I wanted to do just overrated wrestlers, but then I started realizing, Cuz did make a good point for a bitch. He said that you can't say someone's overrated just because you don't like them. But I will counter that by saying
you can. But
some people, say someone's overrated because they don't like certain qualities about them, and that's why they're overrated. They're popular, but they have a lot of negative qualities. But I think if we stick to the basic definition of overrated, which is someone that is ranked higher than they deserve to be, or get more praise, get popular for really no reason without too much achievement, you can kind of consider them overrated. But then also there's a fine line between that and like overachieving and underachieving. I could throw out some examples. Like Rey Mysterio, I feel overachieved. The guy is, 5'1", 5'2", and was in there with giants pretty much his whole career. Especially, today and, in the wrestling war era when he was with WCW. And he overachieved. He eventually, started wrestling against guys that were like 300 pounds and kind of got taken seriously, and even had a brief run with the world championship. So, Vince took him seriously. He won other championships like the IC title, and I'm sure he's won the US championship and stuff like that. So multiple time cruiserweight champion, but even for a cruiserweight, he was a tiny guy.
Yeah.
So I would say that is a perfect example to me as an overachiever, because what he was dealt with, the small stature, he had to work twice, 3 times, 4 times as hard as the average size wrestler. So I'd say he'd be a good example of someone who overachieved.
And definitely don't think he was overrated. I think he's ranked right where he should be.
Yeah,
but definitely.
Yeah, no,
definitely overachieved.
These are just examples as to how it is a blurry line between the three, underachieving, overachieving, overrated.
Yeah.
Randy Orton, I think, would be on the other side of the spectrum. I think, to me, this could be a debate all its own. I think Randy Orton. I like Randy Orton. I think he has a lot of gifts. His look is fantastic. Look at him. He's got a great physique. He's tall. He moves well in the ring. He understands the flow of professional wrestling. But I think he's kind of underachieved compared to, look at all that talent I just named. I mean, he has it. He can cut a promo. But whenever it came time to really give him a lengthy run or put him on top, it just kind of didn't work for whatever reason. And really, not to quote Dave Meltzer, but what 5-star match can you say Randy Orton's ever really had? I mean, he's had good matches. Yeah, it was a good match. That was a good Randy Orton match, but he's never had like oh my gosh, like Randy Orton, he's known for wrestling classics, or when he gets up to the big stage, he wrestles classic matches. He knows. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm just trying to, state the difference between the different.
He has classic matches, just not consistently. There's a couple. There's a couple.
There's good matches. He's, like I said, he's good.
Him and Foley, him and Taker, him and Jeff Hardy. Honestly, was actually pretty good.
Him and Foley was good. But
consider the
other side.
You consider the breed of it. You consider he's a 3rd generation wrestler. The physique is amazing. The guy should be a 20-time champion. I mean, it's just not there.
I just feel that he should have, one of his reigns should have kind of He should have ran with it for a while.
He should have stood out more.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
He should have been.
I
on the
get, and
Austin
granted, it's hard
Hogan
in
level.
the era of Triple H was still around and Cena
That's
was
what I
at his peak and all that stuff. I get it, and Batista was on fire for a while, so I get it. It was kind of maybe crowded there,
And maybe you shouldn't poop in people's bags, but
How
that
about
too.
love?
Again, a lot of it could have been creative, but I'm just trying to give examples before we
Sure.
get off into a tangent.
Obviously, it's both.
of like that's the way I view like an underachiever and overachiever.
but because it's appreciated.
well, I'm saying
Huh?
yeah, it's appreciated.
It's appreciated that he
No,
grabbed-
but I was
grabbed the
saying,
bags,
It's not gonna work.
also Randy's mental, mentality. That was a setback for him too.
Yeah.
Probably right.
Yeah, yeah,
On top of creative,
sure.
so there's a lot.
So
of
now we
factors
can give
for him.
example of overrated wrestlers.
No,
we got a few.
Because you have anything to say before we started? Because you had a shitload to say on text today. Good
Well,
God,
when
you
we
wrote a
get,
novel.
if we get to that specific person,
Well, I hope you're loaded.
that's what I'm saying.
Are
Well, I'm
you locked?
staying by
Are
the
you
same thing.
locked and loaded then?
Gonna stand by. Yeah, I'm locked.
All right.
and
Well, we're
loaded,
not going there right now, so you're just
No.
gonna have to fucking wait. All right. So
He's in the underachieve.
here's the
category
here's the
anyways.
first person that we agreed that we would discuss, and I think it's just too easy. But fish in a barrel, bro. I feel really bad saying this because I think he's a really good guy now, but he was a real dick back
Now.
in the day. But now is really key. But we're talking about Lex Luger, ladies and gentlemen. We have Mr. Luger sitting at a 2-time WCW champion, a 2-time TV champion, and a 5-time US champ. And he's even a tag champ, I believe, 3 times with Sting Giant, and I'm missing one.
Barry Windham.
Oh, Barry Windham. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. So there's some decent accolades there, right? However, we know in our heart of hearts, I think everybody across this table will explain why, that Lex Luger is definitely overrated. Jess, why?
I mainly think because, God, he got such a free ride. He came around. He was put in the Horseman right when he first kind of came to Crockett Promotions,
Yeah.
and as a heel to try to get him over. He got to work next to Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, Sting, and Sting was really young and green too, so maybe that's not a good example. But I mean, Flair of all, and he wrestled Flair a million times, and he was so goddamn popular all the time. Luger was like, it was weird. It was just really odd. I mean, he looked great. First of all,
That's why.
like he was in the era of Hogan, so everybody was kind of looking for the Hogan on the other side of the fence, where Flair was kind of a heel and totally different than Hogan. While Hogan was running crazy over in WWF, people looked at Luger and they're like, "Oh my God, look at this guy! He's gigantic." He was like a legit like 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 280 pounds of just he was no body fat. This guy, so he had the look, and that's what attracted fans to him. Because as much as we would like to celebrate technical wrestlers and really good wrestlers, the visual wrestlers, the ones that are really muscular, they stand out. They kind of get the easiest attention from crowds because they look great. They're tan and all this stuff. They're just built
Face
for
paint and
for
tassels.
looks. Yeah, they're like comic book characters and they come to life. And I think Luger was super popular. And it's not to say he didn't have success. Obviously, he had success, because I think that's what starts to overrate you. Is I think Luger was way better than he had any right to be. Not even like that he overachieved, because he was given all the tools. He just never performed well to me. Like, he looked ridiculous in there. There are times where he would miss a clothesline legitly by like 4 fucking inches. And I'm like, what? Like, he knows he's on TV, right? Like, that's what I think to myself. Like, he knows he's fucking on TV, right? Like, he's not even connecting. I know you're supposed to give the illusion and that you're really hitting someone, but you're not really. But you gotta, make a little connection here and there to make a slapping noise or something to make people think it's a little real. Luger just never. He was always very stiff in there and as a board. And
he was stiff, and then he wasn't. Like, you know what Lex Luger's clothesline reminds me of? Does anybody watch the Goldbergs in here? When Barry likes to run, and he runs with his arms flailing behind him. That's like Lex Luger's clothesline. He'll clothesline you with this like and like not even hardly connect, but it's supposed to be this amazing.
And when he was
move.
younger, like everybody else is when they're young, he was a little bit crisper with some of the stuff he did, but he was always so stiff and awkward in there. And like, not to mention, Luger had no fucking charisma at all. Like,
No.
he was just like the same tone. When he was a heel, he spoke the same way. When he was a face, he spoke the same way. Like, it didn't really matter like what he was. Like, you just had to kind of look at who he was in the ring with to know, oh, okay, I think Luger was a heel. He's fighting Brian Pillman. He must have been a heel here.
Do you want to know where Lex, and at least in my opinion, where Lex's like pinnacle hit? And it has nothing to do with titles, it has nothing to do with anything like that. It is literally the narcissist. And I know that sounds really stupid, but here's why I believe that. The narcissist Lex Luger was as close to what Lex Luger really was in real life. He loved his body. Like, he was in love with his own body. Like,
well, when he left WCW in 92,
Yeah.
He went to join. He didn't join the WWF directly. He joined the WBF, which was Vince McMahon's bodybuilding federation.
And we all know that
to exclusively pose. He was legitimately not going to wrestle for a while.
But we also know he did that because he had contract dispute.
Yes, true. He had a no wrestle clause.
So he had to join the WWF to do that. But I think you're onto something there. It gave him the opportunity to go, I'm just going to go work out like 3 times a day, get even bigger,
get in better shape.
and trim down even more. He was. I gotta admit, I think when he was in WCW, he was probably bigger, but when he came as the narcissist, he was just trimmed down to like almost no body fat at all.
Ripped.
And all he did was get in the ring, and 3 or 4 people would put mirrors around him, and he would flex and be the total narcissist. And it was an amazing gimmick, and it could have worked for a long time. But they obviously Vince also wanted to push him because he saw what he saw.
Well, look, Vince loves big guys. He loves them.
Lex Hogan.
Let's get on the fucking Lex.
He loves
Express.
them. Lex Hogan guy. He loved Luger. He loved Nash. He loved Sid.
So there's 2 things that really have to do with Lex's notoriety that I think is the pinnacle of his career. It's the narcissist. And when he literally jumped ship from week to week, he was saying, "I'm going to stay with WWE." And a week later, he was on WCW, which just started those wars a little bit. Wasn't it like a week apart, or was it a day apart?
No, it was the next day. He wasn't on a Raw. He was under contract to WWF, and Nitro was scheduled to debut in Labor Day of 95.
Yeah.
September something 95. It was Labor Day. And WWF was not running a Raw that day. So Nitro was debuting unopposed. So Luger was on the road with WWF as late as Sunday night. And pretty much, I want to say verbally said that, I'm going to resign.
Yeah.
But he hadn't physically signed anything yet or shook anybody's hand or done anything.
Sure.
And then Bischoff coaxed him over, and he showed up live on the first ever Nitro, which set the tone. And again, like, Luger set off the spark. For the whole time that he was in WWF, he was pushed as a Lex Express, and then he quickly was pulled out of the main event picture because Vince realized what I just said. This guy's kind of like, he's sort of overrated. Like,
he's garbage.
The fans respond to him. He's got a great look and everything. He lured me in, and then, he just has no charisma, and he just doesn't really have it in the ring, which kind of makes you appreciate, and I'm going to go ahead and stroke him a little bit, that what Hogan does in there, because a lot of people say Hogan's the same, which is untrue, because Hogan can flow a match, and he can read a crowd, and he knows how to...
He can tell a story.
He knows when to get hurt and get heat on himself, and then he knows when to come back. And
I love him like a brother.
And Luger never did that, never understood that. So Vince looked at him and saw a Hulk Hogan type replacement, but just... it never worked. Like, it just always, it never worked.
I have to tell you, I hate to keep going back to that, but there's always there's my next Hogan, and then it never fucking materialized. There's so many people.
Because Hogan was a lot more special than fucking people give him credit for it. People just like to bash Hogan and use this word overrated on him, which I think is fucking hilarious. When people say that Hogan's overrated, I just laugh. Like, I can't even say anything to it because I'm like, you just don't like him, and that's fine. You don't have to like Hulk. Nobody. Like, fuck off to everybody.
You gotta respect it, right?
Yeah, I mean, do I have to even say what he did? Like, come on.
So here's the thing, I'm gonna lay it on the line right now because we can talk about it as long as we want, but we can move on. But
because do you agree with that piece of shit Lex Luger's overrated?
Yes,
overrated. But you know what's funny? I definitely don't think he underachieved for where he was, because with all of his lack of talent, he still picked up quite a bit of hardware. I don't think he underachieved.
WCW.
And he was given a lot of opportunities.
Exactly.
And they saw enough in him to be like, here you go, try it out.
Yeah, try it out. And
twice.
I think he's one of those guys where you had to put the title on him because he needed it. Why else would he be a 5-time U.S. champion?
But it's funny you say that, because the fact that we read before we started recording was his entire tenure with the WWF. He joined the WWF in... He debuted on WWF television in January '93 at the Royal Rumble, and then he left, September of '95 to Nitro.
How many titles?
He won absolutely no fucking titles in the WWF. Not an Intercontinental Championship run, not a Tag Team Championship run, which he was put with Davey Boy Smith for a few months, and they were called the Allied Powers. Yeah. So you thought that they were dressing them up for a title run? Nope.
Yep, 0 fucking titles in WWE, and that kind of tells you what Vince thought about him at the end of that run. But it's funny because he really begged him to stay, and it's not like he was going to. It's just so weird. And I think to that point, nobody thought that Lex was even going to leave. So it's almost like they wanted to keep him around as a spectacle, but they were never going to put the strap on him.
I mean, they weren't doing anything with him. I think the next thing to do with Lex, if they were ever going to do it, is turn him heel again.
So even that switch to WCW might even be overrated because it didn't do anything.
Well, no, it did. It when he showed up on Nitro, he somehow became it was weird. Even as a fan, when I watched it, Lex looked new to me because I was like, oh, he came from here. That's where I remember him from in WCW and NWA. So like when he came over, I was like, oh, like WCW was doing a really good job of being a little bit more real, like with their characters and their storylines. So when Lex came over, they treated it as like, what's this guy doing here? He shouldn't be here. He's not here. He's not under contract here. And then Lex was just standing with his hands on his hips and with the,
and didn't do
most
shit.
feminine white shirt on I've ever seen. I mean, he didn't do anything. He just kind of smiled. And
it was quite lovely, that shirt.
And then he walked away, and then it was like one of those dress shirts with no collar.
Yeah.
Like, remember that was a fad for a while?
Yeah.
It was like a dress shirt, but no collar. It was just like a priest kind of.
I'd try to swing him now.
What in the hell is he doing here? Get the camera off of him. What? Look. Get him out of here. Get the camera off of him.
Oh, wait a minute. He's got a right to be where this is a public mall.
Get him out of here.
I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So yeah, so I think he's overrated because like a lot of people remember Lex as like this. Yeah, Lex Luger, he was great, or he and a lot of promoters trusted him over and over again, and like it was just weird. It's like they forget. And when the NWO was running wild, like Luger was fucking over. Like it's funny I'm calling him overrated, but he was over, and every week I would see him do some ridiculous thing where he would miss a clothesline by 17 feet, or he would
God,
just or try to get someone up for the rack and fucking drop him.
Yeah.
And do all that. And then I was just like, my God, how is this guy still over? Like he just flubbed like 3 times live on TV, but the crowd cheered louder for him. Like they cheered louder.
Because what do you have to say on that? Because I'm gonna round up one more thing before we move on from Lex Luger. I got one thing to say about Lex that kind of sums up that career.
Well, Luger is definitely someone that's a perfect example of someone that gets praised, but
For what reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think more praised by the fans.
They
cheered the shit out of him all the time.
That's
like,
where
he looked great. He looked great.
From, I think
he looked great, and definitely
even
overrated.
At a good moment, he won the world title briefly from Hogan for a week in '97 live on Nitro. And you go back and you watch that moment where he racked him. Nobody would believe that Hogan was going to lose. And so when the ref said that Hogan submit, the place fucking went crazy. Like it was a great moment, and I just don't get it. And nobody gets it. Luger's one of those ones that you look back and you're like, wait, why? You could turn the sound down and watch him.
You know what? And
then be like, to a non-wrestling fan, be like, guess what the crowd's doing? And anyone would be like, oh, they're booing the shit out of him. He's awful. No, and then you turn the crowd up and they're like, Luger, have my baby. Like, it's weird.
The thing about Luger,
that's an actual quote from a woman. Oh, the crowd.
Luger,
please, baby.
have my baby.
I dare you to find that soundbite, because I dare you to find it. Oh, Jesus. So here's the thing. I watched this recently just because I caught wind of it on social media and I had to go find it, and I did find it. You can find it on YouTube, by the way. You could find Lex Luger versus Bruiser Brody. And Bruiser Brody was not the kind of guy that would take kind to people telling him what to do. And this is the thing about Lex, I think, that really kind of burned
Lex
people.
was also really young here.
He was, well, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But this stuff, but this shit didn't change. Did Lex ever try to get better? No. Did Lex ever try to work with people? No. Did Lex want to do things his way? Absolutely.
And so, Luger, I think, I'm pretty sure Luger's even admitted that he was in it for the money.
Yeah, he said he was in it for the money. Yeah. He had a football career that went sour.
He was really smart financially. He would always tell wrestlers like how to save their money, what IRA to put their money in. Like Luger was super smart. Like I guess he was very intelligent, and like he wouldn't look. He just looked like a musclehead on TV.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
But he wasn't. Luger was very intelligent and very good with money, and like.
But where he
kind of shiesty.
But where he wasn't smart was be able to get camaraderie and get better. And he could have been one of the best. He really could have been.
He could have.
So literally he tries to go in and talk to Bruiser Brody and tell Bruiser Brody what to do and how to run a match, right? And Bruiser Brody just no-sells the shit out of everything in that cage match, to the point where Luger is so scared he disqualifies himself and walks out of the ring. It's fucking fantastic, because Luger's looking at him like, I don't know what to do. And he's looking at the ref like, what do I do? He's scared to death of Bruiser, and he probably should be, because Bruiser is probably just a couple of freaking seconds or minutes from really injuring him badly, because Bruiser wasn't having it. And that's because Luger never wanted to care. He never really cared about the wrestling, I guess the guts of it, right? He didn't care about shaking anybody's hand. He didn't care about going in and being respectful. He didn't care about, hey, Bruiser, what are we doing tonight? It's all you. Like, he should know that after a period of time. And he never really cared to want to know that. And I think that's why we're talking about a major overrated wrestler. The only reason why he's overrated and why he got all the straps he got is because of his fantastic 275, 280-pound physique, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
That's it.
So, speaking of physiques and freakish strength, I'm going to move on to our next topic, our next wrestler here. We're talking about Mr. Undefeated. We've got a 2-time WWE champion, a 1-time WCW champ, 2-time US champ, 173-0, 174 days undefeated. We're talking about who's next. We're talking about Goldberg.
Okay, this might actually be the very definition of overrated. Like, I don't dislike Goldberg. Let me start with that, because he came in at a time
I kind of do, but
there was a lot of political bullshit going on in WCW. So here's this guy coming in from football that was just told by everybody, like Hulk famously likes to tell people, "Your big brother, you should come on in so I can drop you and beat you." And that's always was Hogan's goal was everything. So when they got him in there, Steve Austin was super hot. And to this day, they try to, anyone you talk to will try to paint the story different, that we were not trying to make Goldberg look like Steve Austin, because Goldberg he started getting really hot at the end of 97, beginning of 98. Austin was already hot. And so black trunks, black boots, bald head, goatee. That was fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin to a T. But Goldberg came in like that. Where they went different with Goldberg, and what kind of started getting people, including myself, I knew he was sloppy as shit. You could tell how green he was. But then he had these 2 moves that were just stiff as shit.
Yeah.
And I think the people that got in there with him understood, okay, we have to, Bischoff really started to like him after a while, being like, this guy's big. The crowd's kind of digging him. He spears the shit out of people. And when he does it, the crowd pops because it's real looking. And most of it was he really speared the shit out of people and probably knocked the wind out of people on more than one occasion. So they were on to something. So they just, every week they fed him someone, whether it was someone super low on the card or a mid-carder, and the match would last 30 to 40 seconds. Eventually they would get a couple punches in. Goldberg would sell. And by Goldberg selling, I mean, he just shook his head real quick, like someone squeezed lemon juice in his eyes. Like, ooh, my eyes sting. Like they'd slam him and he'd get up and shake his head like someone squirted something in his eyes. And that was Goldberg selling.
Yeah.
But basically, and then he would just snap out of it and spear them and jackhammer them, which was an equally as impressive move, and pin them, and the crowd would go nuts. I mean, Goldberg, if you didn't live through it, Goldberg's run was pretty phenomenal. The crowd really was behind this guy. I mean, we talk about people being behind Luger. People were, just all about Goldberg in 98. And this was the peak of the Monday Night Wars. I mean, WCW was still doing record business. WWF had kind of started to win back the ratings, and they were trading back and forth at the beginning of 98. And Goldberg was getting on fire. And as a fan, I accepted him because I'm like, well, he's new and he's different, right? And but you didn't really realize how green he was until after he won the U.S. championship, and he actually kind of had to get in there with people like Kurt Hennig and Steve Regal, who there's a famous story where he kind of beat the shit out of Goldberg in a wrestling sense, live on Nitro, where he just kind of stretched the match out a lot longer than it was supposed to go. And
which he claims he was told to do.
Yeah. He claimed he was told to do, but he got fired for it because Goldberg complained, and some people were saying, the road agent said, I never told him to do that, but he actually stretched Goldberg to a 6-minute match, which was oh my God, that's an hour marathon for Goldberg. And he was striking Goldberg and taking Goldberg down and getting him in chin locks, and people were front face locks on the ground, and people were oh my God, Steve Regal, Steve Regal was fat and out of shape at this point.
You know what's funny about that whole stupid story is any time he wanted to, Goldberg could have picked that fucking guy up and jackhammered him and fucking got the 1, 2, 3. He could have done it anytime. No, he could have done it anytime. He had that kind of strength. So you can't tell. No, that's different, bro. That's a front face lock in the back room with a bunch of people around you. I'm talking about in the match. If Goldberg wants to set you up in his finisher, he has the strength to get someone like that up, and then Regal's like, okay, I guess this is over. It never happened. So you can't tell me that was fucking all Regal's idea. I don't mean to interrupt. I just think it's bullshit.
No,
I think it is a roadie that fucking told him to stretch it and then fucking cowered when Bischoff lost his mind on it.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And then
I think that's all true.
And the thing is, and also, WCW takes a lot of shit for not booking people right and not producing stars, but they booked Goldberg.
They booked him right.
You should, yeah.
But I mean, even the way I like it, not to say everything should be done the way I like it, but I mean, I like wrestlers that when they started to get popular, you put the secondary title on them first because it keeps value on belts like the IC belt or the United States belt, which is kind of it could be used for both. It could be used for someone who you'll never see as your world champion. You give them the IC title or the US belt, and they're good workers, and it's the workers championship. Or on their way up, you give them the US belt to see what they look like with the championship, see how people respond to them defending the title, see if they, if fans don't get bored with them, while they're that champion. And they gave Goldberg the US title first before he beat Hogan for the world title, to a massive pop when he won the US title from Raven.
For the second time this year. Could it be time? Everyone standing as Goldberg is going for it right now. Number 2, 3. We got a new champion, and Goldberg is open for business. Give that man the belt. Goldberg is the United States heavyweight champion, and he won it in grand.
So and then he was US champion for God, I'm trying to think, about 3 months or so, and then he actually beat Hogan in the Georgia Dome in the summer of 1998 in front of, God, what was it, like 40,000 people for a Monday Nitro,
Like 43 plus, right?
Yeah, and it was a little desperation, but to Hogan's credit, they felt how big Goldberg was getting. And
They also felt they needed to do something because they
and
started to lose
I
ratings.
question this. Some people get on WCW for blowing that money match, saying you could have had it on a pay-per-view and had people pay for it. I don't mind what they did on Nitro. I do mind that they were like a week away from Bash at the Beach, which the heavily advertised main event was Hogan and Rodman against Malone and DDP, which was getting mainstream media everywhere and all that. And then you have Hulk lose like a week before.
Mhm.
And then Goldberg, I think, was just booked in like was it a singles match against Kurt Hennig or a fucking a battle royal or some shit like that? Like
That's weird.
I can't remember. I think it was a title. I think he was already booked to face Kurt Hennig.
You can tell it's a bit of desperation, but at the same time they felt like they needed to do something. And I totally know where you're going with that. It was getting to the point where pay-per-views mattered less and TV ratings mattered more.
Yes.
And they understood that. And I know people at the time were like, what the fuck are you doing? But now all we care about is ratings because pay-per-views don't matter. Everything streams. There's no money revenue in pay-per-view anymore because that's how they set it up. That's how Vince has set it up. So when you start looking at that, you're like, yeah.
Well, Bischoff
fucking...
actually set all that up.
Yeah,
Bischoff started like,
exactly. I agree.
He started that. Now they still do it, which is odd. But Bischoff started like, oh no, my pay-per-view set up my Nitros. What?
Because that's where the money is, bro. Where are you getting paid? You're getting paid on those on
yeah, you're giving 60% to the pay-per-view fucking company.
Yeah, but here you're taking a ton of money off what the the commercial base is giving you in that slot. It's just way more money. And Bischoff understood that. That's why Bischoff cut house shows for so many years and went to Disney Studios where people got in for free, because that didn't matter. What mattered what was on TV and how you produced, which is why the production got better. Everything else, we're getting on a tangent.
But no, and then so
it changed everything.
He's
calling for it. This is it. This is it. Your career's on the line here. Do it. Do it. This place will erupt when he picks him up. He's got him up. Oh, hell yeah. 1, 2, 3.
And that was a huge moment. And the only reason why I'm dragging this out is because this is one of the few booking things that WCW got right. They were protecting him perfectly. They were putting him in there. But the night that he beat Hogan, it was actually booked to where he had to beat Scott Hall first earlier that night and defend his U.S. title against Scott Hall. And then if he beat Scott Hall, he would fight Hogan in the main event later for the world title. And Goldberg was already U.S. champion, won the world title, and had both titles. And it was perfectly booked. But then the reason why I say he's overrated is once all that started to fall away, when the politics and the guys that were given massive guaranteed money, oh, I hurt my knee, I can't wrestle, and they start dropping away, you have this champion that can't do anything on his own. And he just fell prey. He became paranoid and he fell prey to the politics in the back. And he could not work himself through a match to save his life. If he didn't have anybody in there that didn't have at least 10 minutes of experience, he was done. So you have the world title on this guy who had no idea where he was, what he was doing. Nash books himself to beat him later that year, ends his undefeated streak. And because Goldberg wasn't a good wrestler to begin with, like he just declined after that. Never had a belt put back on him in WCW. I mean, I think he won the tag titles and he won the US title one more time, but never was given the world title because the booking committee changed so many hands in WCW between like 99 to fucking 2001. It changed hands like 3 times. Like, so it's like, it was hard. You could blame it on creative, but he never learned. He was never good. And that wasn't his fault, but that doesn't mean he's not overrated. He's very overrated. He's one of the most, he's when he went in WWF in 2002, when he went into WWF, he just couldn't hang. Like, he couldn't hang with them. And
the first time around, right? Well,
now,
yeah.
The second time around, like
they did it right.
They booked it the way WCW did, and they should have done that. But Vince was so hell bent on anybody who comes in here from WCW, we're gonna break them down and shit in their mouth and then rebuild them. And like,
but now nostalgia sells.
But Goldberg never knew the right way to do things to begin with.
Goldberg don't like shit in his mouth, bro.
Yeah, he hates shit in his mouth, and he completely bucked against that. So that's that he's overrated for that reason because man, he hit such levels of popularity that unless you live through it again, like it's still, you could go watch videos and be like, man, that guy gets cheered a lot. But man, living through it, you kind of felt it for that little year in the Monday Night War. Like Goldberg was the shit. Like people were all over him, but he was just overrated because like people think now, oh, Goldberg, he was awesome. And I'm like, actually he wasn't. He was so protected. Again, the major difference between Hulk and people like Goldberg is like you gotta know what you're doing.
He's lucky he looked like somebody though.
What? That's what we said at the beginning.
I know.
They were trying to play it off like, oh, they were 2 different people. I'm like, well, obviously they're 2 different people.
Because would it have?
I didn't think that Stone Cold changed himself a little bit in Wrestle on Nitro and then came back and Wrestle on Raw.
Would it have worked if he looked like Austin?
I don't know.
No, if he had like long hair.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that mattered. When Goldberg came in the way he did and just freaking breathing in smoke and looking like a dragon and all that impact from
his entrance was awesome.
His entrance was amazing.
I mean, the entrance was longer than the match.
It was like a UFC fight.
He had a catchphrase, "Who's next?"
Yeah.
Like it was like a wrestler starter kit that they gave him, and like it worked perfect. And which is again so funny because I bitch now and people are like, yeah, whatever. You're just a fan. You don't know how to fix today's product. You've never been in the industry. I'm like, just look at Goldberg. Look at what they did to him. It was literally like everything was in a package and you rip the package open and out came a wrestler. Out came a tagline. Out came
your Stone Cold.
Yeah, out came
your
an
Hogan.
undefeated streak. Out came great pyro and him walking, you know what I mean? A great entrance. It was everything you needed. But the problem is if you're not a good pro wrestler under all that, you're going to be a flash in the pan. And he struggled.
You just made me think of 2 questions before we move on to the next. 1, will Goldberg beat Undertaker in Saudi Arabia? That's
no.
number 1. No? Okay.
No.
2, will they have pyro for him that he can breathe in smoke?
The answer, a question you ever asked is, who cares? And my answer is nobody gives a shit about that.
No,
I could give 2 fucks about Undertaker versus Goldberg.
It's all about the
it's like, who cares?
Between you and me, I'm a little pissed about it.
And it's going to be a 30-second match. How can it
definitely. It better be a 30-second match. We better be.
Wait, Undertaker's just going to pop.
We bet
it's going to be over. I mean, that's going
to probably go spear him and
they'll have a rough match.
Undertaker will kick out in
a couple minutes.
Is he not next? And you'll say it to the camera. And Undertaker will rise up and be like, no. And then he'll tombstone him.
No. The Phenom.
It's going to be all theatrics for.
I'm telling you, that's like a $20 million match just for the Saudi King. I swear to fucking God. Nobody else cares.
They keep doing it.
Yeah.
Randy Orton versus Triple H.
And they're
corporation
not even trying to get off on a crazy tangent, but they're losing viewership in the States because people are pissed about them going over there.
They don't name it.
They see the immediate money.
But do you see what they named the show? They just call it Super Show. They don't say.
Yeah, they're not going to say Greatest Royal Rumble or whatever that was.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just called the Super Show.
Oh,
and then they name the arena that they're going to be in. I was going to do a racist accent. I'm not going to do it. I refrain from it.
I refuse.
That's how much I've grown.
What the fuck? You can lie.
Yeah, that's about all we have to say about Goldberg. It might have been.
His run is definitely interesting, but he's overrated.
Overrated. Definitely not underachieved though, right? He didn't underachieve. That's a great undefeated streak. Great title runs. Two-time champion WWE. I mean, nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, but they also knew this. They knew the second time how to.
It's appreciated.
It didn't work.
Yeah. No, it didn't actually.
But they also knew how to placate that. But yeah, I don't know.
Still appreciate it.
I still think about his going to hug his son and shit. So fucking fake. Whatever. I'm an asshole. All right.
Now that was all weird.
That's weird,
And then
right?
he made his son take his shirt off, didn't he?
I don't fucking remember.
It did. He did.
I probably blacked that out, bro.
And then he sucked it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
that's fucking terrible.
God damn it.
No, he did. He legitimately did make us like. I think it was when he won the title. He pulled his kid over the rail and fucking took his kid's shirt off. And his kid is soft.
Yeah, he's a little.
And you can tell his kid was just like,
soft.
He's not working
I
out.
want to be without my. He wasn't working out like Bill.
Definitely not working out.
But yeah, like, and then he gets in the ring. I'm pretty sure.
Very offensive.
So yeah, he brought his son in the ring and like he took his shirt off. It was really weird. So I don't think you're alone in thinking that shit's a force. Like you could tell he was just like, Dad, don't like you're never nice like this.
Yeah.
You're
You're always beating the shit out of
Yeah,
me.
you're always
Oh no!
Oh,
Fucking
man,
terrible.
he's
Oh,
I can't
God.
read a Brock in real life.
How come when we're
Get
home
out
alone,
of
you
here.
slap mom and
Oh Jesus!
in the middle of the
Christ.
wrestling
And you
event?
yell,
act like
"Who's
you love
next?
it.
You're next."
Mom's not crying because you won the title. She's crying because she knows what's going to happen in the door.
Because she
close.
knows that
Oh
you
my
know you're
God.
gonna lose it and you're gonna be angry.
She knows what
Yeah.
happened when on the drive home.
So angry.
Oh man.
I felt you
could have acted better
when I won the title.
Well, speaking of guys that get angry, this one gets angry, but when he gets angry, he just gets
make Bill
fucking.
Goldberg a
Yeah.
wife and
Yeah,
child
yeah.
abuser. All right.
Yeah, we're terrible. That's just
Okay.
how we
Man.
roll.
I mean,
Yeah.
And we're gonna call this guy a little bitch, a little sensitive bitch, talking about anti-racism because fucking Conan. God damn it.
I don't want
Oh,
to talk about
God.
Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
We can just say overrated.
What do we have here? Wait a minute. Last week, Tony, this man called me an old man. I got carded last night. Conan, you're off base.
Where'd you get carted off to a rest home? Hey, if your picture's coming in a little bit fuzzy, a little bit faded, or a little bit worn out, don't bother adjusting your tracking button. It's only Mean Gene. Arriba la
Around the-
raza.
I will go
Round
on
the
record
table.
right now and say I've never liked Conan.
Never
so
have.
Maybe you can disqualify me because I'm
No,
calling him overrated.
no, it's
I
not
never
like
have
him.
either.
Let's give a quick rundown of
Road
Conan.
when he would
I don't
get
even
on.
I don't want to get too
I don't even want to
crazy.
talk about it.
Oh god damn it, we
just
have
kidding.
to. God
Okay,
damn, this
that's fine.
motherfucker is
Some of that's
ma-
actually
ma-
overrated.
mainly part of the the AAA Lucha, right? He held 15 different titles over 9 different promotions. This is what I mean. Jess and I have talked about this, but this has been talked about as the fucking Hogan, like it's like the Mexican Hogan. Like this is and yeah, are you fucking kidding me right now? This motherfucker gets so much credit for so much bullshit, and is also god damn, he's a fucking whiny bitch. I swear to God, every time I hear him on a podcast, I want to punch him in his face. But I think it's
Him and Disco and some other person. I don't know the fucking name.
it doesn't fucking
They do
matter.
a podcast and like it's awful.
Yeah, I don't know.
Conan and Disco.
Like Disco, literally Disco.
What?
And I'm sure I'm falling for it because if they heard this criticism, they would be like, "Oh, see, you don't even get our podcast. You're falling for it. We're in character. We're trying to get we're trying to play you
Bullshit.
in." No, Disco's literally is
Bullshit.
on every week talking about how he knows how to get heat and what a good worker he is.
Yeah.
And all. It's fucking really embarrassing. And I'm in on the joke and the character, the dynamic they're trying to have, but like it's brutal. And Conan, just no offense, like I'm just gonna be honest, like he sounds exactly the same like he did 10, 20 years ago, and he talks like this, and like it's ridiculous.
Very
to listen to him talk.
offensive.
And I know he would call me racist for saying that because I
Oh, really?
actually imitated
Oh,
him
I'm sorry about
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
If somebody imitated me and said, "Oh, my name's Jess and I'm white," I'd be like, "Okay, if that's the way I sounds good."
Mhm.
yeah.
You do a great impression of me. Thank you. You're hilarious. But like, yeah. So you got Conan going, and he's one of those guys
Yeah.
which I can't stand. Like, I know I'm going off on a tangent,
Yeah.
but like, he's the guy, like, that, when people say something about themselves, it generally means they're not that. So if someone comes up to you and they introduce themselves and they're like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, man, I'm really funny. Okay. So I'm going to be crazy. And you're going to be like, is this guy for real?" And I'm going to be like, "Yeah, I'm really funny. I'm known in my circle of friends as a really funny guy." Generally means they're fucking awful.
Yeah,
and
I
not
hate
funny
that.
and all that. And that's what Conan is. That's what Conan is. Because like Conan will always, every other sentence is, "You know me, Disco. I'll tell you like it is. I'll tell you raw dog. Some people can handle that." So that generally means that he's just an annoying prick who probably says things that people just go, "Yeah, Conan, to get him to fucking leave the room and stop talking. And that's what kind of person I'm sure Conan is. Now I will say that he's got creative ideas. I like
That's
LAX
true.
and TNA. I've always liked I actually like LAX better with Conan as their manager. So I'm not saying that he's totally worthless, but as a singles wrestler, I saw his matches from AAA, and I believe he was like the first CMLL Mexican champion or something like that. But he was in the early 90s. He had a nickname as the Mexican Hulk Hogan because he was young, he was good looking, he was muscular. The legends put him over like in Mexico to kind of make him like the next big thing. They actually came here for a pay-per-view. I think it was called When Worlds Collide.
When Worlds Collide.
Yeah, in the LA Sports Arena. They sold out the LA Sports Arena, which Mexican wrestling hasn't had a presence in LA in a long time. So he was like over when he was in Mexico, but I don't know what happened when he came to the States. And I'll tell you, Dave and I were talking about this before we hit record. It's because good wrestlers would be able to adapt to the American style and kind of bring their own flavor to it and keep some of the Mexican style with them, which is pretty valuable, but learn how to wrestle. Conan never either wanted to or could not wrestle American style because he kind of kept like that odd lucha, like just like the way he would move in there. Like, for example, like when you whip someone to the ropes, right? You want to make it look like you're really trying to whip them to the ropes. So you grab their hand, you butt their shoulder up against your shoulder, and then you throw them into the ropes, right? Or you give the illusion that you're whipping them to the ropes.
Try your hardest.
Conan would literally walk up to you, put out his hand like he was shaking your hand. That's as much effort. And then he would pat.
Horrible.
He would pat the back of your shoulder, which was your signal to start running in the opposite direction towards the ropes, which is the most laziest shit I've ever seen. Couple that with his somersault into a clothesline, which is fucking awful and never looked good.
I fucking
ever.
hated that shit.
Yeah,
bro.
never looked good. Always poorly timed. Like he just, Conan never got American style of wrestling. Conan was over at times when he was with the Wolfpack. People cheered him. But you know, and it's funny, he'll go around calling people racist and stuff. But yet Conan dressed up like a typical Mexican gangster, even though Conan's Cuban. So he dressed up like a
what's
typical,
that all about?
He would dress up in a flannel with one button buttoned and the bandana on, and he would tell people to toss my salad and lick my butthole or whatever he would say, and Aliba raza, and he would do all this shit. But then if you copy his accent or you say anything,
he calls you a racist.
He'll be like, "You're racist, man. That's a stereotype." I'm like, "That's what you fucking made your money in the United States on, was being a stereotype."
You made your money
of
off
Mexican
of stereotype,
gangsters. Yeah, you would get in the ring with saggy pants.
You're a fucking character, bro.
Yeah, well, a poor one at that. Like, you know, so it's just he was
or not. He
was in the
money.
Wolfpack. The Wolfpack was over, so he got cheered. I'm not saying he had a catchphrase. He would come out every week and get in the ring like "Odale," and the crowd would chant it back, "Arriba la raza," and they would chant it back, and he'd be like "blah blah blah," and he'd say something you couldn't understand, and then he'd be like, "You could toss my salad and peel my potatoes and duba duba duba," and then he would proceed to have an awful match. Or when he actually wrestled against another lucha, he would fucking stiff him.
Arriba la raza!
He didn't know how to wrestle. See, I'm getting upset about Conan.
All of that was racist, by the way.
This is fine. It's totally
it's
fine.
okay.
Bring it in, cuz
I was watching the video. You know the video with it was on WCW, and it was when the NWO and Wolfpack thing was going on, and when Scott Hall was drunk.
Yeah.
Drink and I drink.
I'm kind of retarded.
Just something about Conan coming out with Nash. He kind of came off as like I know I'm overrated, but I'm cool because I'm with these guys, and I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna soak it all in, and I'm gonna take up all the attention that they're getting because I know I'm not that good, but because I'm with these guys, at least it gives me a little attention. Didn't it come off as overrated? Like, I don't know.
I would
just
not.
looking at it,
I would
like,
not even be surprised if that was his thought process, because he probably knew,
I know I'm overrated, but I'm gonna go with these guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with these guys because
to look good, man.
These guys are over, and then when people chant for me because I'm with the over cool guys,
Exactly.
I'm gonna be cool.
Basically.
And then when I 20 years from now on a podcast, I'm gonna talk about how over I was and how I know how to get over. No, you stood next to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who were really fucking over. And I'm not a big fan of Nash's in ring work either. But they were super cool. They were one of the three guys that made the NWO super popular. Arguably, Hall and Nash were the two guys that really made it super cool and young and fresh feeling. And then Conan just started milking that later. He got lucky. He got put with them.
It's kind of like the chick that wants to be hot by surrounding herself with ugly fat friends that goes and joins a group of all hot chicks.
That's what Roddy Piper said about Earthquake.
That's what I do.
Wait, what? What did he say? What?
And commentary in SummerSlam '90. Right, Earthquake was coming down. Oh no, Dino Bravo was coming down to the ring, and he was like, "Do you want to know why Dino Bravo looks good next to the Earthquake? Because he's like that so-so girl, gets all the big fat ugly girls to hang out with her, and then in turn he looks hot. That's why Dino Bravo's with the Earthquake.
But Conan is that
Piper,
chick
bro.
that joins the chick full of hot girls. Full of hot chicks.
She goes up like 2. She's probably a 4, but she goes up to at least a 6.
Yeah, just by association.
Yeah.
You know the thing.
God, people are gonna be so offended by this.
I know.
I might really, because Conan's what? What does Conan do
Everything.
again? I forgot.
Just because I said
like he's a
chicks
fucking
and fat chicks.
I was booker for Lucha Underground.
Just because I said fat
awesome.
chicks.
Like he's a fucking
Lucha Underground also has vampires.
Like he has this great fucking movement to prevent racism and everything else. You know, and we're not trying to sit here and say that, you know, everything we're saying is racist. What we're trying to say is like he made money off that stereotype, and he deliberately did all of that. So he needs to be accountable for that.
In his
if
defense,
he doesn't
I
like
don't remember if it's from wrestling, whatever. He did have serious kidney problems. Like he actually has been
That's
through a lot
right.
health wise.
Yeah.
So I'm not shitting on him, but he still has a big mouth behind the mic. So as long as you're well,
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty fucking sure. Yeah.
pretty sure about that.
Are you sure about? Jesus.
So yeah. So whatever.
Here's my thing about Conan. That, and I think I never really liked him, but I have true disdain for him. And the reason why, and I don't know, you guys are.
Let me tell you, I hate him.
You might get a little hot on me with this, but I really have a problem with El Hijo, right? You know what I'm talking about. When he's wrestling Rey Mysterio, it's like a tag match. I'm talking about that Death in the Ring situation.
Oh, Conan, he was on the outside.
Yeah, Conan's on the outside.
Oh yeah.
So here's the thing, right? I'm pretty sure as soon as this guy was dead before he walked into the ring. He just didn't know it yet. I'm pretty positive, right? And I know he quote unquote had a stroke, whatever happened, right? He gets drop kicked in the shoulder and hits that rope the wrong way. And you can tell he's in distress.
I know exactly
what the fuck does Conan do to this guy?
It's his overrated medical skills too.
Jesus fucking Christ, bro. He's shaking the shit out of him.
Dude had an neck injury.
Yeah, and he's shaking the fuck out of him against these ropes. Like, if he wasn't dead, Conan fucking killed him. And I know that sounds really bad to say. And I don't have any proof of that. I watched the video over and over, and I go, I don't care if that guy's dead when he hit the floor. That's the stupidest fucking thing.
That's how I felt too. I felt like it could have made it worse.
Better.
It may have made it worse.
Yeah, it may have made it worse. Maybe he was able to be saved. I don't know.
Because that much yanking.
Do you think fucking Conan knew either? He didn't know. He should have fucking left him alone and got medical staff down there. And
yeah.
And I hate to go off on another tangent, but Silver King, same fucking bullshit. And I know they probably couldn't have saved Stroke.
I've not even seen. Do they have video of Silver King?
They do.
Yeah, I've seen it.
The guy's kind of like trying to pull him over, and he's
on his fucking belly, bro, and he flips him over and slams his head pretty hard. I know he was having a heart attack, but he fucking moved him, bro.
Stroke.
He didn't stabilize him or anything. Yeah, and who knows what could have happened there. The fucking the lucha scene needs to get their fucking shit together, because
they do.
These last two deaths, I don't know if they could have been prevented. But there's a chance if they even had ambulance on staff, something, a fucking cardio machine, something, fucking something to jump the heart back in. Who knows what could have happened with these two guys? Maybe they'd still be here. They wouldn't be wrestling, but they might still be here. And that motherfucker shaking him on some cable rope against his neck when he had a fucking stroke. This motherfucker, man, I truly have a problem with this guy. And you know what? He can come and kick my ass and put me in a pretzel. I don't care.
He will.
I would fucking do do it.
Post your address in the
just for me to tell him to his face how much of a piece of shit he is. I'm sorry.
As a former EMT, I mean, as soon as I saw that video, I'm like, why would you do that? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? But he didn't know. But at the same time,
you know, again, to give him credit, even though I've spent about 2 minutes bashing the shit out of him. You know, he's in the moment. I don't know. I don't know why you would shake it that violent. I really don't.
The way he did it, though,
for like a full fucking minute too.
Honestly, it would be one thing if he just kind of.
But let's just say he didn't know he was hurt at all, and he was still in character, and he thought everything was all good. Shaking the rope like that is so out of character for anybody. So he was shaking the rope trying to wake him up because he knew something was fucking wrong. So like, I just don't understand why. I
understand a couple slaps in the face, maybe, you know.
That is where I will take the criticism of you've never been in the ring. You're right. So I would not.
That's true.
I mean
true, though.
I would not know what to do in that situation because I've never been in the ring. However,
but they should
critique booking and wrestling. I've been a fucking lifelong fan. I've spent fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars on this fucking product. I have the right to my opinion for how things are booked, for how sloppy someone is, a Conan, and all that stuff, and how shitty they look in the ring, and how much of a hypocrite they are. But I won't criticize him for being in the thick of it. I don't know what it's like to be in the ring. I don't know what it's like to be in the ring with someone who's injured, and trying to guide him through it, or you know what I mean? Like, so
it is a rough spot.
You see that a lot though. The one recently that I was watching, and I was watching the Thunder episode where Buff Bagwell got paralyzed for a while.
Oh my god!
And where Steiner gave him the fucking bulldog off the top rope and just botched it.
That's right.
Because Steiner was being a lazy fuck, to be honest. And maybe
that's
it's hard for me to call him a lazy fuck because Rick Steiner was pretty good actually.
Rick Steiner?
No, it was Rick Steiner that did it.
Oh, what?
Yeah, Rick Steiner did it to him. So, but no, Scott Steiner comes into play in a second. Trust me, I'm not done with Scott Steiner. You didn't put him on this list, did you? Because I have a lot to say about Scott Steiner too.
We
Rick Steiner was good, but Scott Steiner.
But yeah, Rick Steiner was being lazy, and he gave his bulldog where he stands on the top rope and his opponent stands in the ring with his back to him. And then Rick Steiner jumps off the ropes and bulldogs him from behind. Good, cool spot. Always got a nice pop. Well, he did it to Bagwell, but he was lazy. And instead of actually grabbing Bagwell's head and then releasing it right before he hit the mat so Bagwell could take the bump right, he didn't even try to grip Bagwell's head. So as he was coming down, Bagwell's head slipped behind his tricep. So when they both landed, his neck snapped on Rick Steiner's back.
Yeah.
Jesus
So
Christ.
Bagwell, from the second he got, you see him saying shit to the ref and Rick Steiner like, I'm hurt. You see him. He can't move. He's panicking a little bit. Then Scott Steiner comes in there, fucking hits Rick with the chair, pulls Bagwell up violently by his arm to drag him over for the cover. And the ref counts 3. I mean, Scott Steiner picked him the fuck up. This paralyzed man.
Go back and watch that now.
I'm telling you, when you watch it, you're going to be like, what the fuck
I forgot about that whole thing.
Now, Scott may not have known because Scott came from the back and ran down there and just wanted to do his spot. But I don't know how someone couldn't have said, like, he's fucking hurt, like, right now. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, when you watch how violent Scott Steiner is with him, and Steiner was on his team. He was trying to pick him up to put him over, like, what the referee's back was turned. So the whole spot was supposed to be Rick Steiner hitting the Bulldog, and he had Bagwell pinned basically, or was going to, and then the referee's back was turned, and then Steiner hits him with the chair and then puts Bagwell on top for the 3. It's a classic, you think the face is going to win, but the heel does. But when you watch this and you watch fucking Scott Steiner grab Bagwell by the arm, Bagwell's paralyzed. You never move someone who's paralyzed, or who takes a head trauma. Like
no, you don't.
Trauma, and he throws him on top. It's fucking crazy.
But I'm not one to brag. Medeja,
I don't know why.
Kim,
But that's
fine. Is Scott Steiner on the list?
The what?
Papa, you're not just any man between the sheets, honey. Kim, why don't you tell him what he's really like? Oh, that's right. Big Papa Pump's not. And he's our Superman.
You're damn straight. So this goes to all my freaks out there. Big Papa Pump is your hookup. Holler if you hear me.
He wasn't, but
He's right about that.
Well, there you go.
Because-
Go ahead and add him.
We might
Go
just
off the
do it.
top.
Let's fucking do it right now. As a
We can,
singles wrestler,
Because
wrestler, Scott Steiner is completely
Garbage.
overrated. The Steiner Brothers tag team was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I love that
the
tag
Steiner
team.
Brothers.
Well, I think we should distinguish that, because when you talk about the Steiners themselves, I think not overrated, not underachieved.
No.
I think they achieved
Great tag
the
team.
pinnacle
Great
of tag team greatness.
Arguably the best United States
Arguably the
champion.
best.
United
And-
States tag team
And
ever.
this is a young
I know I had to start hard to
this is a young Scott
like swallow
Steiner.
my own tongue. I'm like,
But you have to understand, this is a young Scott Steiner in the realm of
what was that, Alex Jones?
I'm kind of retarded.
in the tag team realm. A young Scott Steiner is pulling Hurricanranas out, which they actually just renamed the fucking Frankensteiner.
To keep it short, like the
Amazing.
the Steiner tag team, they were phenomenal.
Sure, and they carry titles all over every venue, every
When
federation,
Scott
all over the world.
In '98,
Yeah.
he turned on his brother and he became superstar Scott Steiner for a second.
Oh,
he dyed his hair white,
that's
did the
precious.
goatee. Then he became what was it? Big Papa Pump.
Big Papa Pump.
After that,
Holla!
Scott Steiner
If
was
you hear
only
me.
known. He was only known because WCW was such a shit show at this time for going in the ring, going off the script, cursing, ripping people that he never said that he was going to, what are you going to do tonight in promo? I'm just going to talk about my feud. Then he would go out there and be like, Ric Flair's a motherfucker. Like literally, he would just go
This
out
show
there.
sucks.
Yeah,
Watch
this show
WWF.
sucks. Watch WWF. And then like, he was so hurt. He was so pumped up and muscular at this point. He was actually masking his injuries that he'd had for all those years. So he was never a good singles wrestler.
Like
after turning
the
Big Papa
drop
Pump.
foot,
He was roiding out,
and the
and
back
he was
He was
issues.
angry.
roiding out. His hips were going fast. His back
He was,
was going fast.
Yeah,
There's
He
a lot of
never-
things to
He
describe.
never
him.
looked into the ring.
Retarded.
He was people said he was hard to deal with in the backstage. He was an asshole. He would always fucking curse people out.
Yeah.
And,
Temper.
like all that stuff.
He's an angry
Temper
guy.
tantrum.
It's super overrated because everybody remembers Scott Steiner. Remember he was so
He was
cool.
so
and
badass.
He wore the metal, the
Great.
chains on his head or whatever. And I'm like,
But
actually,
He was
no.
good.
He was better way back when. But let me ask the question: was he still a dickhole when he had his long hair and he's part of a tag team?
Probably.
He's
I'm
an-
sure. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
he was.
Probably.
Yeah.
He was that.
There's stories about prelim tag teams that would go and what you did when they
They'd
did
get
TV
destroyed.
tapings
He'd
back in
fucking
the day.
destroy them.
You would be a prelim wrestler that would come in and then they would be like, okay, go look on the board or the paper that's posted on the board, and that's who you're going to be fighting. Go get with them and talk about your match, which basically you're going to get your ass kicked for 95% of it, and you're just here to make them look good. So there were a tag team and a wrestler that people would like be seen crying when they would see they had to face prelims that had to face the Steiners or prelims that had to face Van Vader. Like they would cry because they're like, fuck, they're gonna beat the shit out of me. And Steiner's would just brutalize people, like especially prelims, just take liberties on them, like treat them like shit. Like
man, Vader didn't hold back either.
Oh, Vader
was
broke someone's back from a powerbomb.
Oh God. Yeah. Jesus.
Joe Thurman. So a little side overrated wrestler. Scott Steiner is a singles wrestler. Totally overrated.
Very.
Yeah.
Punk ass. Like, you know.
Well,
and now I just watched a video before we recorded this. He's probably getting paid $100 to go wrestle in a gym that was probably full of 50 people and touching Joey Ryan's dick. So that's what Scott Steiner.
Overrated.
Hope he saved his money. Hope he saved his money, which it didn't look like he did. And his chest is caving in. He's got a beard right now. Yeah. His fucking all the roids he's done is turning on his body and everything. Him. Yeah. So. You know, you reap what you sow, folks.
In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he got the best wrestling maneuver for 89 and 90 for the Frankensteiner, which is fucking old.
Because that was new.
They were fantastic.
They
stole it from Japan.
Match of the year, 1991, Rick Steiner versus Hiroshi Hayes and Kunise Sasaki at the Japan Super Show, because fucking Meltzer's a fucking Japan
Steiner's
bitch.
had great matches in Japan. They were super stiff with Japanese wrestlers, but that was a stronger style over there.
Gave him Tag Team of the Year in 90, worst
style, baby.
Worst work match of the year. He gave him 2003 versus Triple H at the Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, that WWF.
Oh my god, that was horrendous.
His legs were like little chicken legs, and he had no cardio.
It's just all sucked anyways.
Fucking blown
up. And he just wasn't a good singles wrestler by himself. Scott Steiner didn't have charisma. He just yelled and cursed and scared people. That's all he did. Not convincingly, like he was a dick in the backstage. He just scared people and he yelled at people and cussed at people. He had no charisma. He had no like inkling on what to do in there as a singles wrestler. Every time they tried to experiment with him as a singles wrestler, he flopped. And he went back to his brother, and then finally after that, he was Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump again under the NWO umbrella or the Shield. Which NWO was like super over at the time. So even if you were fucking Stevie Ray, you would get over.
Well, that was another one, just like Conan. I gotta associate myself with guys that are popular and everyone loves, just so I can appear like I'm better than I am.
Yeah, and then when all those guys go home because they fake injuries and you're left all by yourself, you can't elevate anybody else. You can't do anything on your own. Like that's sorry, Scotty and Conan, but
and that was his class.
And you guys are assholes on top.
Yeah, they're kind of.
So when you walked down that aisle last week, I know I wasn't alone, because the people at home, all they did was grab their remote, change the channel to the WWF, and watch Stone Cold, a person you and your old friends got fired from here, because you're a jealous old bastard. So Ric Flair, remember this, in this wrestling business, there's never been a bigger ass-kissing, butt-sucking bastard in this business, but also in life, you're the biggest ass-kissing, backstabbing, butt-sucking bastard. And you belong where you're at in WCW, because WCW sucks. And so do you. Me.
All right, so that's enough about Steiner and fucking Conan, right? We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about speaking of racism. We're gonna talk about a man who used that to get quite a bit of cheap heat. We're talking about Bradshaw. We're talking about Layfield. We're talking about JBL.
You mean Bully?
Yeah.
Bullyfield?
Bullyfield.
Justin Bully Layfield, baby.
That's what the B in JBL stands for.
This
bitch.
So when you
super overrated.
When you lay in the accolades, he's got one WWE championship, he's got one IC title, he's got one US title, he's got 18 hardcore titles that no one cares about. He's got a European title, he's got 3 tag titles with Farouk. That's kind of cool, That was where honestly the peak of his career was.
I like the acolytes; they were cool.
Yeah, it's all right. So let's talk about the guy. How did JBL come across that world title in the first place?
I think they were looking for something for Vince likes big guys.
He's my best friend. He always has been. We drank more beer and we've been up more roads than most of you people can ever imagine.
And JBL's
a big guy.
Listen, beef
JBL knew how to suck up to the right people in the back. And let's face it, and I'm gonna be kind of semi-honest because
he's a smart guy.
Well, he is a smart guy, but he knows how to politic as well. And I'm just gonna say it. Vince McMahon is a major bully. and he still runs his company. Like, he's probably a lot quieter now, Vince, but he ran his company like that for years. And if you weren't alpha and you weren't a bully, you didn't really get Vince's attention. If you actually liked pro wrestling and just wanted to come and do your job and work your fucking ass off and nurture the locker room and make you leave it better than you left it, not so much for Vince. Like, he kind of liked bullies, and he liked people who, like to cut other people's throat because he felt that keeps him sharp. So JBL knew to make friends with The Undertaker, and that kind of gets you a pass in the backstage.
We've been hanging and banging, brother.
I hear Undertaker's a good guy. I've never heard one negative thing about Undertaker, but JBL knew, and Cuz talks about someone knowing how to suck up to someone to make themselves look good. Exactly what JBL did. If I'm friends with The Undertaker, I'm kind of untouchable. I'm in a rare air. I'll get kind of next to Vince a little easier. And that's kind of how that all happened. He's a big guy, tall guy, never in great shape, always looks soft. But decided to cut his hair and make a different one out of it, and came up with the whole JBL character and kind of like JR from Dallas combined with a couple other people, and where he was like this cowboy wearing a hat and kind of coming out talking about how rich he was, and about the Mexicans need to mow my lawn and that's their place, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what they do. And so it was all cheap heat, and it was designed to feud with Eddie Guerrero. When they put the title on JBL, it was like a Jinder Mahal kind of run. I know JBL was like the longest modern WWE champion or something like that. He held the title for a year or whatever. But I never dug it. It was really overrated, and they parade him around now, JBL, like some legend. They bring him back for commentary like we give a shit, or like, oh, coming up on the guest panel for the Money in the Bank pre-show, JBL, and nobody cares. And like, it just I've never liked JBL. I think JBL is an awful wrestler. His clothesline from hell would hurt people, despite what Bruce Pritchard would have you believe on his podcast. I've seen him stiff many people with that. But let me put this. A lot of people have Justin Roberts, the former ring announcer, is a book that comes to my mind where he buries JBL because he said JBL tormented him for like 2-3 straight years.
Yeah.
Just bullied him every fucking day. Like, would embarrass him. There was one particular tour where they were driving and they had I think they had heels on one bus and faces on the other because they were going on a tour overseas. And JBL made both buses pull over and said, we're not leaving until Justin Roberts gets his ass off the face bus and gets over here with the heels, because JBL wanted to bully him in front of everybody and make a big deal out of it. So he said Justin Roberts went over there, and JBL would just be, right out loud, "Hey, Justin Roberts, are you still alive? You should fucking kill yourself." Like, and just,
I remember those
he's a big
quotes.
fucking idiot. That's why he thinks he's funny.
Wow.
Again, he's another guy that's a bully and he's loud, and most people will, so JBL stop, because they just want him to go away. But he thinks, man, they were all laughing at me. I'm funny. Loud is funny. Like, and that he's that kind of fucking prick that you just cannot stand to be around. But you kind of go, "Oh yeah, JBL. Okay, buddy." And in his mind, he's like, "Yep, Jess is on my side." He laughed and called him buddy. Like, he's that fucking, for as smart as he is financially, and he's a financial wizard apparently, he's pretty thick in the fucking skull when it comes to reading a room. But again, when you're friends with The Undertaker, you could do what you want, right? So yeah, then what really makes me mad about JBL, and I've heard no proof of this anywhere else. He claims that he was just these great friends with Guerrero, and when Guerrero died, oh my God, JBL cried and put on this fucking bullshit act about how him and Guerrero were close. I've never read a single story where
No
they were
one's
close
confirmed
at all,
that.
at all. I know that JBL befriended out of nowhere Chavo after Eddie died, because that's the right thing to do. Maybe I'm a dick for saying this, but I never have read anywhere else that JBL and Eddie were friends. I've never heard of that. I've always heard horror stories about JBL being a bully and a piece of shit. I've always seen JBL's work in the ring, which is subpar, which is not good at all, below average. He stiffed people with the clothesline from hell and other moves because he can't wrestle. So let me hit him for real, and that will look good, right? Like, and that was just JBL to me. And you can't prove otherwise, because I don't care what Bruce Pritchard says, who they're best friends in real life. And Bruce Pritchard's a bit of a bully as well. Maybe not now, but was back then. And again, if you didn't have that alpha kind of always shitting on someone, always fucking loudly, rudely joking at someone or whatever, you weren't one of the boys back then. JBL fit right in, fit like a glove.
To be fair, I don't like JBL. I agree with everything you're saying. As far as the Eddie Guerrero thing, we never heard Eddie say anything bad about him either.
Yeah.
So maybe it was one.
No,
I'm not maybe it wasn't as great of a friendship as he's saying,
Yeah.
but there could have been a friend. Just to be fair.
Well, I
there
think
could have been a
JBL
friendship.
knew to be with him because he was.
It could have been chummies. Yeah.
The title off.
Yeah.
Well,
but we never heard Eddie. Eddie would have said something if there was something there, but doesn't mean like
Eddie,
Justin Roberts. It doesn't mean you discredit that story.
Oh yeah,
well,
he's
there's
still
a bunch
piece
of other
shit.
people.
No, yeah, exactly.
There's a bunch of other people that have come out
they
of
corroborate
that say the same thing.
Yeah,
that
they
JBL
corroborate.
was
Oh, I'm
a
sure.
bully.
I'm sure.
You know, he would just run people down, and the only way to really get out of it is if you tried to fight back on him. But however,
You gotta agree with him.
every physical altercation that he's gotten in
Got his
has
ass
resulted
whooped.
in him getting his fucking bully ass beat.
Joey
Joey
Styles.
Styles punched him in the face and shut him the fuck up because he was fucking with
That's
Joey
fucking
Styles either on the
great.
plane or a bus. I don't remember when. Joey Styles had
Good
enough.
idea. I don't know.
Yeah, he said something about Joey Styles, his wife or something. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember the story.
He said something about him. In
Yeah, maybe
general.
it was about him.
And then
right.
Joe Styles confronted him about it. And
Yeah.
then blah blah blah.
And then he
But-
punched JBL
yeah.
in the face. And then also, JBL was knocked out in the tough. He's such a tough guy. Everybody talks about how tough JBL is, but he gets
He's
in the brawl
not.
fall and he gets
He's
he
not.
gets fucking knocked out. Like
Oh,
fucking
who knocked-
Billy Gunn knocked him.
Yeah, that's
Knocked
right.
him the fuck
Yeah,
out.
Billy Gunn.
Like every time
Hey.
that JBL talked about, and then and remember he picked on big fat helpless Blue Meanie.
That's
When he
right.
fucking-
Yeah, and he
he's a-
did fuck Blue Meanie
He's
up,
a
but that was a bully.
That's
that
why.
was,
And
that was
it was
bully
a ring full
status.
of people. It was a ring full of people, so he wasn't out in the open where Blue Meanie could defend himself. And I don't think Blue Meanie's like a tough guy.
No.
But I mean, like, you're fucking
Do we-
6'6".
Do we all remember Paul Heyman's fucking great diss to him though?
Oh yeah.
The only reason you were longest champion is because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays. Fucking great. Fucking great.
Oh my god.
Because that was true.
And it was true.
That's true.
And he's overrated because WWE parades him around like he's some kind of pageant winner and, like he's special. Oh, okay, joining us for commentaries, JBL. Like, and everyone goes, because nobody fucking cares. Like,
Is that Warrior snorting?
yeah, it was Warriors.
Well,
Snort some coke, JBL. Fuck.
I'll tell you. It's interesting that you talked about the Ultimate
There was
Warrior
somebody else in
snort.
the back that knocked the fuck out of JBL too. I can't remember who it was.
Was
There
it?
was somebody else too. It was Joey Styles. Fuck. I think I had it in my
Gotta
head.
look it up.
Someone.
And wasn't it like a non-wrestler too?
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
Somebody else, put him in his fucking place too. See, that's the thing. You diffuse a big fucking windbag of a bully, he backs down right away, like right afterwards. Apparently, Justin Roberts needed to fucking take a hammer and bash him in the fucking face, and then he would have been like, Justin, you're all right. Can you pick up my teeth on your way out, please?
Please.
Is this?
Excuse me when I go out and stiff someone because I never know how to
Oh,
wrestle.
really? Steve Blackman beat the shit out of him?
I didn't know that.
Well, let's see. I didn't know that either. Okay. 1998 or 1999. It says date 1998 or 1999.
That's
Location
totally
Kansas
Yes.
City.
Yes, and then because and JBL admitted this because I guess Bruce took him back and had talked to both of them. It's okay, what the fuck? And JBL made a joke of like, you know what, Bruce, I have to apologize. I was hit 7 or 8 times before I even realized I was in a fucking fight.
That's right.
That's how fast
I've heard
Blackman
that
was.
story.
And Blackman
All right.
hit him so many times he couldn't. Even
Well, let's go right here, and this could be a part of the podcast because JBL was in a mood to joke around, and that meant trouble for whoever was in his path. It just so happened to be Blackman, which was bad news for JBL because he was one of the few guys on the roster who could fight back. JBL started harassing him, calling him all sorts of names, and it was pissing Blackman off. He then patted his ass. Oh God, he patted his ass, to which Blackman said, "John, I don't play that shit. Knock it off." JBL, the prick that he is, kept on doing it anyways. Blackman warned him one last time, "John, next time you do that, I'm going to knock your fucking teeth out." JBL, of course, ignored him and did it again, either too drunk or too stupid to leave him alone. Blackman had enough and turned around and backhanded JBL. He proceeded to then jab him repeatedly in the face and body about a dozen times as JBL kept swinging and missing.
Yeah,
With each of his jabs, JBL's head would snap back. For the final blow, Blackman was going to kick his knees out, but as he stepped back to kick him, his leg got caught in one of the handles on a luggage bag. That's why Blackman never made it. This allowed Holly and Al Snow to grab Blackman while Ron Simmons grabbed his friend and JBL. JBL then walked in forth and like a bandy rooster wanting to finish the fight, he just got whooped in. Before Blackman left, he told him, "I'm going to fucking kill you," and he met Jesus Christ.
Who wrote this?
It's probably an eyewitness.
It's just a website that I think went off of an eyewitness. The website will give the Armpit, Pro Wrestling's least trusted news.
Yeah,
Great.
Well, no, I remember there's
shout out
been
to you
shooting
guys.
interviews too where people have said that if you stand up to JBL, he backs away because he's a
He
phony
does.
bully. He's a phony
Yeah,
bully.
I remember reading that stuff too.
Yeah.
Actually.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's fucking funny. JBL.
And on that note, JBL is a piece of shit.
Correct.
And this is the O.W.P signing off. This is Dave, Jess, and Cuz. By the way, we want to always tell you can always reach us via Instagram at O.W.P 2019, YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel, SoundCloud at Our Wrestling Podcast, or once again, download WrestlePost. That is WrestlePost on your phone at no charge to you, and join in on us along with other great wrestling podcasts. Have a great night.